Cutting the guy who balled out all camp long? Is that just crazy, or is it a cold-blooded calculation? This is Ethan Carter, and I'm just gonna say it. The Seahawks are shaking the very foundation of this roster, and it's making everybody suspicious. The defensive line just got thinner. A forgotten talent could become a wild gamble. A rival's cast-off just knocked on our door, and we added a piece to the secondary that has everyone talking. This isn't a coincidence, man. It's an orchestrated move. But are we looking at a turning point, a new identity, or a risk that could cost us everything come September? Hold on tight, because this first piece of news gets right to the heart of that dilemma. All right, my fellow Seattle Seahawks fan, before we get into the details of this Wednesday with the latest on our team, just a quick request from me to you. If you follow the Seahawks Insider Report and you dig our analysis but you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. It is absolutely crucial for the channel and for our community of Seahawks fans to keep on growing. Thanks so much for your support. They dropped the bomb. Brandon Pilley, the same guy who was dominating in practice in the preseason, was just kicked to the curb, cut from the 53-man roster. This isn't just a cut, it's a brutal message. Nobody is safe, not even the guys who kill themselves on the field to prove they belong. And as a fan, man, how do you not feel betrayed by that? The dude was looking solid against the run according to Pro Football Focus, doing exactly what you ask a nose tackle to do. Hold the trench, clog up the line of scrimmage, and free up the linebackers to go hunt. But then came the injury, the silence about how bad it was, and boom, he's gone. It's infuriating. It's maddening. It makes you question everything. But hold on, let's look deeper. The front office's cold logic might actually make sense. The Seahawks went into the 53-man cut with a risky strategy. Go thin on the interior D-line and bet on mobility. Jaron Reed is the anchor, but Pili and Quinton Bohanna were shown the door, while Jonathan Hankins landed on a reserve list for an off-field issue. The result, we're heading into Week 1 against the 49ers with almost no heavy beef in the middle. It's bold, but it also feels insane. So, is this a modern vision or a gamble that could cost us right out of the gate? Technically, Mike Macdonald loves to use multiple movable pieces, rotate guys, confuse opponents with versatile fronts. It's a philosophy he brought from Baltimore, where he built defenses that looked more like a moving chessboard. But here in Seattle, the fans' memory is forged by brute force, by physical domination, by shoving your nose right into the other guy's chest. So when we see a cut like this, it feels like something is being lost, like our identity is being watered down. My honest opinion, if Pili's cut was just a temporary roster crunch, he'll be back. If the injury was minor, the guy will still see the field in September. But if it's neither of those things, if Seattle truly decided to sacrifice size in the middle for speed, then we are witnessing a radical change to this team's DNA. The impact? It's huge. Without that resistance up the gut, any opposing offense that decides to pound the rock between the tackles is gonna smell blood. But if Macdonald is right, if this defense full of lighter, versatile bodies actually works, maybe we'll see a whole new style born in Seattle. But that, my friend, is the crossroads we're at. Blind faith or fear of a total collapse. And speaking of unexpected pieces for this defense, a name just popped up that could change the game, and he wasn't even on the radar yesterday. Is this a surprise or a hidden opportunity? The New York Giants let go of Elijah Chapman, a tackle who's only 6 foot, 278 pounds, but with strength that is just absurd. We're talking 42 reps on the bench, Aaron Donald-type numbers. And guess who should already be on the phone? Yep, the Seahawks. Because if we cut Pili and Bohanna and we've still got Jonathan Hankins stuck on the NFI list, the middle of our defensive line has become a dangerous wasteland. So I'm asking you directly, would you take a gamble on an undersized guy just for that raw talent? Chapman went undrafted in 2024, but spent the preseason with the Giants rotating in with the starters, showing explosion and an ability to penetrate. The problem? He's short and has short arms, which in theory limits his reach against the giant O-linemen in the NFL. But football isn't played on paper. On the field, his hip explosion, his short area quickness, and that freakish strength make him an out-of-control wrecking ball. He's the kind of player that, if you put him in a creative scheme, becomes a weapon. And Mike McDonald loves that stuff. Hybrid pieces, guys you never know where they're going to attack from. Technically, Chapman can't hold up as a 3-down nose tackle, but he could be the joker in obvious short yardage running situations or for a quick interior pass rush. Now, my opinion, I'd bring the guy in without a second thought. First, because our roster is screaming for depth, and second, because you can never have too much raw talent, and if it doesn't work out, you cut him. Simple. But what if it clicks? He could become one of those stories fans remember years from now, like the short guy nobody wanted who became a terror in the backfield. Immediate impact, probably small, but strategic. He wouldn't be the final solution to replace the beef we lost with Pili or Bohanna, but he'd be a complementary weapon, a rotational piece that, used at the right moment, could change entire drives. And get this, he even has experience lining up in the offensive backfield. Imagine a guy with that power leading the way for a linebacker when we use a fullback. The collision would be brutal. The thing is, Seattle seems to be leaning into looking for these outside-the-box players, gambles that are different from what we're used to. And that isn't just limited to the middle of the D-line. The proof is that while we were cutting big bodies, we went looking in Los Angeles for a name that many had already written off. But can he actually become a solution, or is he just another risk on the spreadsheet? Nobody saw this coming. Chris Paul Jr., drafted by the Rams just a few months ago, is now wearing blue and green, even if it's just on the practice squad. It's weird, right? Because the team that traded up in the draft to get him, investing a pick and their confidence, just unceremoniously dumped him. And we, their direct rival, take him in. Is that an irrelevant detail or a smart backroom maneuver? Let's break it down. Paul was a 5th-round pick in 2025 out of Ole Miss, 6'1", 308 pounds, a body ready for the trenches. The Rams believed in him, but when Sean McVay cuts the kid while wishing him good luck, it's pretty clear that bridge has been burned. For Seattle, it's a market opportunity. Add new blood without spending a draft pick, with no immediate pressure, and with the chance to mold the kid inside our system. Technically, Paul Jr. has interesting traits. Violent hands, discipline to fill gaps, and some potential to develop as an interior pass rusher. He's still raw, still inconsistent, but with a pretty high ceiling. For a practice squad spot, that's a cheap investment that could have a huge payoff. Now my take. I love when Seattle pokes a rival like this. Snatching up a young talent right after they've been cut feels almost like a taunt, and the fans, we get to savor that little taste of revenge. Even if it's small, real short-term impact, minimal. He's not going to play in September, maybe not even November, but the simple fact that he's practicing with our playbook means he can learn the Rams' secrets, develop on the side, and who knows, maybe become a secret weapon at some point this season. And if he doesn't pan out, no harm, no foul. It's like buying a scratch-off ticket with your coffee change, a tiny chance at a big prize, zero risk of breaking the bank. But there's more. This move is a clear signal that Seattle is watching the market, poaching pieces from rivals to strengthen the roster and, at the same time, gather intel. It's smart front office work. But if Paul Jr. is here for depth, the next name that showed up in Seattle isn't for development. He's here for immediate impact. A cornerback who's been a starter, who has picked us off in the past, and who arrives with a mission to truly compete for a spot. And that begs the question, is this a redemption story for him or just another ticking time bomb in the locker room? This was unexpected, and honestly, a little uncomfortable. The Seahawks went out and claimed Darian Kendrick, a former starting corner for the Rams, straight off the waiver wire. A guy who has punished us before, picking off Drew Lock back in 2023, is now wearing our jersey. Is this a smart reinforcement or a ticking time bomb? Kendrick was a 6th-round pick in 2022, started 18 games, and racked up 14 passes defensed and 1 interception. Until he got hurt, he was a mainstay in the Rams' secondary. But the injury was serious. He tore his ACL in 2024 and missed the entire season. That kind of trauma isn't just a detail, it's a career changer. Technically, Kendrick has always been a physical corner, good at reading routes and zone coverage, less effective in man-to-man against speedsters. In Mike Macdonald's system, he could be useful as a third or fourth corner, especially in formations that demand route recognition and discipline in tight spaces. The problem, his speed and confidence after the injury. If he's lost a step, the NFL is unforgiving. My honest opinion, I like the boldness. You don't find former starters for free on the market every day. It's the classic low-cost gamble that could pay off big time. If it doesn't work, you cut him. If it works, Macdonald gets more depth in a position that could be decisive when we face elite quarterbacks in big games. Immediate impact? Competition. Devin Witherspoon and Rick Woolen are untouchable, but Shaquille Griffin and Josh Jobe need to feel the heat. Kendrick can shake up that hierarchy, bring a healthy rivalry, and raise the level of practice. And remember, we've seen cornerbacks come back strong from injuries and reinvent themselves. History is full of those examples. Now, the part that messes with the fans, accepting a former Ram isn't easy. It's like sitting down at a table with your rival after a bar fight. But in the NFL, jersey colors can change overnight. And if Kendrick intercepts Matthew Stafford in Week 10, nobody's going to remember he came from the enemy. So when you add it all up, the painful cuts, the risky gambles, the habit of poaching from rivals, a new pattern in Seattle becomes clear. We're not just shuffling the roster, we're messing with the team's very identity. And the final question, my friend, is pure provocation. Does all of this point toward evolution, or are we just spinning our wheels, making the same old mistakes with new faces? What we're seeing is a Seattle team that takes risks and bets on outside-the-box talent, but every single move brings tension and uncertainty. Unexpected cuts, bold gambles, and questionable signings show guts, but they also leave glaring holes in the defense and on the roster. The team seems to be searching for a new identity, but is it actually building strength or just covering up old weaknesses? The fans feel the weight of that doubt. Are we playing it safe or going on an adventure? So I'm throwing the challenge to you. Do you trust this bold new path the team is on, or do you believe we're just walking a tightrope toward instability? Drop a comment because that conversation is our most powerful weapon.